One of the reasons why orchestral music is so great is that the large scale of a symphonic work, coupled with the huge array of sounds and colors of the orchestra, these allow for composers to write music which can take its time setting itself up. This results in unbelievable moments which, because of that time, care, investment, and craft, they end up being incredibly satisfying. Today, we're taking a look at how one of those moments works. I'm Evan Mitchell, music director of the Kingston Symphony Orchestra, and courtesy of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, this is the Big Payoff. Beethoven's Fifth Symphony has one of the very greatest moments of payoff in the entire repertoire, but many people aren't aware of that. And that's because while this symphony is overwhelmingly popular, most folks are really only familiar with the very opening of this piece. Now, we'll get back to that opening idea in a little bit, but the true payoff of this symphony is the introduction of the final movement of the piece, which is a rousing fanfare giving us no question that we're closing out this symphony with a bang. So, by itself, without any context whatsoever, the opening of this finale would no doubt be memorable. But of course, it's not just about this moment, it's about how it's set up. And to really get a sense of what's going on to make this finale next level amazing, we have to go back to the very beginning of the symphony. Let's have another listen at the iconic opening of the Fifth Symphony again, and I want to draw your attention to a small detail about this famous passage. Beethoven uses little pauses in the music, the second one longer and more dramatic than the first, to make things unbelievably exciting, making us wonder what could possibly happen next. So credit where credit is due, that is a crazy way to start a symphony, but technically Beethoven is mostly playing by the rules, in that he's introducing the major idea for the movement, this idea of four notes, ba-ba-ba-ba, short, 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 long. Now, we don't know it yet from listening at this point, but this idea is one which permeates the entire symphony, and an incredible amount of the symphony's material revolves around this idea of short, 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 long. Even in the very next bars, we hear Beethoven start to develop this idea as the movement goes onward, bouncing around the strings. Now, as I've said, this four-note idea is used in a variety of different ways throughout the entire work, and that's one of the reasons why Beethoven is considered to be so technically masterful. But I want to draw your attention in this first movement to a few instances outside of the beginning, where the four-note idea is used to heighten anticipation and to introduce something to come. Here it is being used to set up the introduction of the second theme. And once we are given a concluding sense of the opening statements of the major ideas of this movement, and we are expecting the next section to come, the same four-note idea is our tour guide, this time giving us a sense of great anticipation and excitement by using pauses like it did in the beginning, holding on to the final chord even longer than we have been led to expect, ultimately serving as an introduction to the next section. Now, what does all this have to do with the payoff in the finale, you may ask? Well, as it turns out, quite a bit. Beethoven is establishing a great many things in this opening movement, but for our purposes, the most important precedents that are set up in the beginning few minutes of this symphony are a great sense of revolution and revolutionary ideas, and a four-note theme that, very importantly, is often set in a manner to introduce something with great anticipation and excitement. Clearly, he's already telegraphing a pattern. So now let's jump ahead to the third movement of the symphony. Beethoven subverts our expectation again of a dance form minuet and trio for this movement, which is something he was never particularly interested in. Beethoven's idea of the third movement form is infinitely more boisterous and in-your-face than the dignified dance forms of Haydn and Mozart, but even by Beethoven's own standards, the opening of this third movement is something surprising. Three things to listen for before we play it. Number one, Beethoven uses the basses and the cellos to introduce a nebulous, mysterious musical idea. Number two, This particular idea focuses on what we call the dominant harmony rather than the tonic. Now, this sounds technical, but all it means is that when the music pauses to build tension twice, just like the beginning, although a bit more drawn out than before, in these pauses, things sound very unsettled and unresolved. Number 3. The 4-note idea here takes us into the next passage, this time courtesy of the French horns, just like we're expecting. Here's the opening of the 3rd movement. Now, typically for a movement of this type, in very broad terms, what we expect to hear is 2 different musical ideas explored, with the first idea reappearing after the second to make a sandwich. A, B, A. Pretty simple form. We've already heard some of the A idea, so here's the opening section of the B idea. Now this is important because after the B section, we expect to hear the A section again, and then a short concluding passage to finish the movement. Suffice it to say, that is not what we get. True to form, Beethoven telegraphs that something unusual is about to happen. Once we hear the return of the A music, he makes the choice to switch from bowed strings to pizzicato, plucked strings, for a very unusual change of color. Now, outside of the surprise of the difference in sound, this heightens the tension because there is no sustain in the music. You can't hold any of the notes. Remember that sustain and holding on a chord is one of the ways prior to this which Beethoven has established an expectation in this piece. And what follows in that vein is revolutionary in every sense of the word. Beethoven reintroduces sustain in the music at the ending point of the A section for the second time. So here is where we would expect that short closing gesture. Instead, Beethoven uses an unusual harmony to avoid a sense of conclusion, and he holds it for quite some time to build anticipation. The timpani plays the 4-note idea over this suspense, telegraphing that we're being led somewhere new, which is a surprise because, again, we're supposed to be at the end of the movement. And this is where the real magic happens. There is a short passage which starts with unresolved harmony, making us feel very unsettled. Then a rising pattern in the violins, which likewise leaves us unsure of what's going on. And then a harmonic sequence which quickly grows much louder and much more anticipatory, finally giving way to the ultimate goal of the opening of the finale in all its glory, performed without a break between the 3rd and the 4th movements. And what's so incredible about this notion is that not only did Beethoven symphonically pioneer this technique, but he did it so well the very first time that it really hasn't been surpassed in this sense of payoff, even after 200 years. Now, much of that has to do with the great craft Beethoven has in setting up models of anticipation even as he subverts what you're expecting. While it would be impossible to expect what's about to come, the idea of a sequence introducing something spectacular has been set up more than a few times for those who have been paying attention. So here is the entire sequence leading to the Big Payoff, the final A section in the third movement with the surprise change to plucked strings, the harmonic surprise and the timpani heralding a new direction, the suspense and anticipation building, and then the glorious resolution as we go into the finale without a break. So that was the Big Payoff. And moments like that just leave you craving more, I know, but you're in luck. Next Saturday and Sunday afternoon, we're performing this masterpiece alongside Wagner's incredible Prelude to Lohengrin and Rachmaninoff's towering third piano concerto with piano superstar Avon Yu as soloist. Tickets are going fast, so make sure to click the links below for more information about this concert and also for easy ticket purchasing online or over the phone. I'm Evan Mitchell, this is the Kingston Symphony Orchestra, and we'll see you at the concert.